Good evening, my name is Katarzyna Nowicka and welcome to Poland Daily News. From 7 a.m. on Sunday, Poles were able to cast their votes for the President of Poland at polling stations across the nation. Voting ended at 9 p.m. Warsaw local time, thus concluding the election silence. In order to take part in the election, one must bring with them to a polling station an ID card. The document will allow the voter to be identified on the electoral register and proceed to voting. If a voter uses a certificate of eligibility to vote, the committee will add it to the electoral register. At the last conference at 10 p.m., the National Electoral Commission will provide information about the end of the vote. On Friday, the head of the National Electoral Commission, Sylwester Marciniak, informed that the number of persons entitled to vote is 29,937,795, including 519,431 Poles voting abroad. Compared to the first round of voting abroad, 150,000 more people volunteered to vote. Tomorrow marks the 20th anniversary of the death of Jan Karski, a Polish lawyer, historian and diplomat. Jan Karski, or rather Jan Kozielewski, was a legendary emissary of the Polish underground state who was the first to provide the leaders of the Allied countries with information about the extermination of Jews. After the end of the war, he remained in exile. He worked as a historian. He was a professor at Georgetown University in Washington. Jan Karski passed away on July 13, 2000. Jan Karski was born on April 24, 1914 in Łódź. Karski participated in the September 1939 campaign and managed to escape Soviet capacity. Active in the Polish underground since 1939, he was delegated to the governments in exile located in Paris and later London several times by the underground national authorities. Arrested by the Gestapo, he was retrieved from a prison hospital by the Home Army. Being a courier of the Polish underground during the Second World War, he was one of the first to report to the Allies on the extermination of Jews in occupied Poland. After the war, Karski obtained an American citizenship. Karski's wartime memoirs, The Secret State, were published in 1944. The book was recently reprinted. Jan Karski died on July 13, 2000 in Washington. And now we bring you the latest information from the Ministry of Health on the state of the COVID-19 epidemic in Poland.
The Ministry of Health has reported 317 new infections. This means that the total number of patients in Poland has increased to 37,891, out of which 27,148 cases concern those who have already recovered. The last day brought 3 new deaths, which brings the total number of deaths from COVID-19 in the country to 1,571.
Today marks the 75th anniversary of the Augustus manhunt, a criminal operation of the Soviet NKVD against the Polish independence underground. On July 12, 1945, the so-called manhunt was initiated in the Suwałki region. During the action, the NKVD and Red Army units detained nearly 7,000 people. Almost 600 of them, suspected of having connections with the underground Polish Home Army, were deported and murdered. Their remains were never found. Due to the coronavirus epidemic in Poland and today's second round of the presidential election, the main celebrations of the anniversary are to take place the following week. This photograph has been circulating the world. U.S. President Donald Trump finally gave in and put on a face mask. The United States yesterday confirmed a record number of new infections per day since the beginning of the epidemic, 65,000. However, the mortality caused by COVID-19 appears to be lower than it was a few weeks ago. Meanwhile, Disneyland has reopened in Florida.
The President of the United States, Donald Trump, who since the beginning of the coronavirus epidemic claimed that masks did not provide sufficient protection and refrained from covering his nose and mouth, put one of them on for the first time. He later added that they had their time and place.
I think it's a great thing to wear a mask. I've never been against masks, but I do believe they have a time and a place.
During his visit to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, Donald Trump met with wounded soldiers and health workers who remain on the front line of the battle with the coronavirus.
We're going to Walter Reed Hospital, and we're going to be seeing soldiers, our great heroes, our wounded and some badly wounded, and they're incredibly brave and great people. And we're going to see also the warriors on the front line of COVID, and quite a few of them, and we're going to spend some good time with them.
The most visited theme park in the world, the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida, commonly referred to as Disneyland, was reopened after a 4-month closure caused by the coronavirus epidemic. Temperature checks at the entrance are to ensure safety. Masks for children over 2 years old are also required. Florida is currently one of the major COVID-19 outbreaks in the USA. In the last 2 weeks, 109,000 new coronavirus infections have been confirmed in the state, more than in any other state. In one of the bars, where the owner did not require masks to be worn, an incident occurred between masked opponents and the police.
It's wrong! It's wrong! It's wrong!
I have no problem if anybody wants to wear a mask, feels comfortable wearing a mask, we fully support that. Do it. If it makes you feel better, if it makes you feel safe and healthy, do it. But for the rest of us, we shouldn't be required to. We do enough for our health to support our immune system. There are studies that show, oh, thank you, sweetie. There are studies that show the detriment on the other side of things to wearing the mask as well. So I think the bottom line is that the government is there to protect our rights.
There are currently over 3,240,000 people infected with the SARS-CoV-2 virus in the United States. Over 134,000 people have died. The number of people recovered is approaching 1 million.
That's all for tonight. Now on to Poland Daily Business with Aleksander Wierzejski and his guest. Good night.